done the qualifyings and we are currently on the starting grid before we head to the formation lap. So we've had a couple of delays this day already, but with the lunch break there's always room to bunch everything back up and get back on track with the program, which is what we've done. So with a tiny little delay, but not a very big one, we are starting the Formula 4 race with the following starting grid. It is last year's champion Ethan Isher on pole position after a very closely fought battle in qualifying yesterday with a name that you might really know from the world of single-seaters, even Formula 1. It's Oscar Wirtz, young Austrian driver, being one of the sons of Alexander Wirtz, former Formula 1 driver and still an active member of the Grand Prix Drivers Association. His older brother already cutting his teeth in the fields of Formula 3s, Charlie Wirtz, but Oscar Wirtz entering the Formula 4 championship here in Hungary. Row number 2, that is Shimo Zhang in P3, and alongside him Andrea Kostic in P4. Row number 3, that's Kirill Kutskov and Jonathan Kororela. Max Karhan from the Czech Republic, P7, and alongside him his countryman Mirek Mikeš, both of them joining the grid, having started last year already. Kornelia Olkucka in P11, yeah, there's also another row in front of her, that's in P9 Marek Micík, and alongside him Luka Savu, P11 Kornelia Olkucka, alongside her Michalina Sabaj in P12, and on the final row of the grid Michal Jandová and Franciszek Halatnik representing the Janik Motorsport colours. We are about to go for the formation lap, and this is where we're starting. Green lights can be seen there already on the start and finish gantry, and we are in for the 4.1 kilometer of final practice run basically, but we've got issues on the grid. Unfortunately, some of the drivers not managing to get going. We've got one of the cars stuck on the grid, but finally actually getting going again. That would probably be Michalina Sabaj, having had issues leaving the starting grid, and because everyone else has already left the grid and she's then leaving it as the last one, she shouldn't be able to get back to her starting position, which means that she is going to have to start from the last position on the grid. Let's see how that is resolved, and the rest of the pack already on the formation lap. Of course, all of the drivers having to do the race warming procedure, or let's say warm-up procedure. This is a hugely crucial lap for everyone. Not so much for the spectators, I would say, but for you as a driver, you've been standing in the pits, you've been standing on the grid for some time, and now it is time to actually get some heat into the tires, into the brakes, so that everything is absolutely perfect and ready. Mainly for the first corner, which here at the BalatonPark is the right-hander hairpin, so you'll need your brakes and tires in perfect condition, perfect shape and condition, so that you're not sent spinning or locking up, crashing into somebody. You want maximum grip, and you've got you want sharp reaction, so that you can make up some places. Start is one of the most perfect spots where to actually gain, but on the other hand also where to lose a lot. So it's usually crucial, and these young drivers are starting to learn these skills in the single-seaters. It's a Tatus T421, very nicely put together, quite a simple car costing round about 100,000 euro to purchase. So not a huge investment. Basically, you can pretty much say that if you're coming to the single-seater racing from the top ranks of go-karting, so this entry level is not going to cost you a lot more than the go-karting has already been costing you per year. So great entry level for all of the young drivers, and that's why we have 14 strong starting field here in Hungary. And we do have Michalina Szabai joining the grid, but in the last spot. So as I just said, F1 style starting procedure. The red lights are on, the red lights are off, and we are away here in Hungary for the opening round of the 2024 Central European Formula 4 season, with Ethan Isher immediately cutting across, and there's a slight contact down the order in the fight for P3. That must have been Andrea Kostic and Kirill Kutskov. Further cars now getting... That's two Yenza Motorsport cars that are getting on the outside of the track, leaving it momentarily, which means that there are a lot of places lost. One of the drivers skipping across the gravel as we exit the first sector. And it is Ethan Isher leading from pole. Further problems further down the field as the drivers are fighting for grip and trying to mainly stay on the black stuff and not really go through the grass or through the gravel. There were touches, but nothing too dramatic. There's more fighting towards the back. Andrea Kostic in one of them. And there we go along the back straight right now. So into the last sector and around the final corners, back onto the start and finish line with Ethan Isher leading the way from pole position. But it was a little more complicated behind his back. So it is Ethan Isher leading from Oscar Wirtz, who kept P2, but then it's already pretty mixed up. Kirill Kutskov in third. Mirek Mikes has managed to make up a couple of places in his Sape Motorsport liveried car. Up into fourth he goes. Lukas Savu from the back end of the top 10 on the grid, currently fifth. Max Karhan up to sixth. Great start from the Czech driver as well. And then there are the drivers that lost places on the opening lap with incidents and simple misplacing their car. Andrea Kostic down in seventh from Shimo Zhang. He was third on the grid, currently only eighth. Marek Michik in ninth, and Jonathan Cororella from France in 10th position. František Halatník made up a couple of places. He was last on the grid, now he's 11th. And then Kornelia Olkutská, Michelle Jandová and Michalina Szabai currently forming up. P12, 13 and 14 after the opening lap of the race. Down the back straight we go into the chicane. Of course, it helps you a lot if you've already done at least a season, because you've got a lot more experience than most of the field, where we've got drivers actually coming in from go-karts, so actually cutting their teeth quite literally and enjoying one of their first racing weekends, if not the first ones, so first racing kilometers under their belts, having to learn all the racecraft, all the skills, and also manage the tyres. It's Pirelli's this year, so the drivers will try their hand at managing them across the entire stint in race trim, where it's not just about running around, but of course fighting towards the front and also defending from the back. And in the meantime you still have to think of the tyres, think about them, manage them, not really take too much life out of them too soon. Isher leading 1.2 seconds ahead of yeah, not Charlie Wirtz, but Oscar Wirtz. Oscar Wirtz in second from Kirill Kutskov. Mirek Mikes in fourth, and it was actually Oscar Wirtz who improved on the fastest lap of the race so far on the previous lap with 1:38.0. Jonathan Isher was 0.08 of a second slower than that. So pretty much nothing to choose from between these two drivers. Jonathan Cororella has made one more place, having overtaken Marek Micik in the fight for 9th. Nice fight into the chicane. When the TNT Motorsport cars fighting one another. And there we go across the line with Isher still leading. Wurz actually closing that gap a tiny little bit by about 2/10. Kutskov in 3rd, Mikesh 4th. Then it's Lukas Savu. And then Shimo Zhang moving up to 6th. That's actually a big fight among the Enza Motorsport cars. Max Karhan having been demoted to 7th by his teammate Andrea Kostic behind them in 8th. That's the trio of Yenza Motorsport machines. And Shimo Zhang is about to try to fight towards the front. That's Lukas Savu right in front. Lukas Savu in the colors of Renault Motorsport. So an attempt around the outside for Zhang into the chicane. Wonderful fight between the two. Ooh, and I believe is that front spoiler damage for Savu? There might just be. Max Karhan is having to look into his mirrors because he's got his teammate Andrea Kostic having a look down the inside, and I believe that front spoiler on the car of Lukas Savu is loose. There may have been a contact with Zhang. Yes, it's flapping around, and we'll see how much that is actually bothering a Formula 4 car in a race trim. As it's flapping around, the aero is not going to work properly, but these cars don't really have that much of aero, as they are not that fast. Further pressure. This time it's already Kostic behind Savu. More pressure into chicane, into the chicane, and through he goes. That is the Enza Motorsport car being currently driven by Andrea Kostic, moving up to 6th. Max Karhan will definitely want to try the same thing, as he's lost 2 places to his teammates recently. He's now the one putting pressure on the Renault Motorsport car. Coming closer to the chicane again. Car number 6, that's Mirek Mikesh in P4 currently. And he's being reeled in by Shimo Zhang. Isher leading, but by less than 1 second. Of course, no DRS trickery here in Formula 4. The car is very basic. It's a chassis made by Tatus, powered by 1.4 turbo Abarth engine. So Lukas Savu still holding on to that 7th place right now, even with that loose front wing. I believe he might be able to finish the race with that. Normally he'd be shown a black and orange flag, which would mean that his car is not in a good technical state and has to be driven into the pits for repairs. But the question is, how much does it actually bother anyone that the wing is flapping around? It's probably not just going to fly off, as the other hinge is still fine. But let's see. By crossing the curb somewhere, maybe a little too aggressively, it might get damaged even further. This is Kirill Kutskov, the 5th of the so it's actually one of the Mafia Racing cars, and behind it's already Zhang, so that's why I got mistaken, because Zhang has already got past Mirek Mikesh into 4th. So Mirek Mikesh back in 5th now, and it is Zhang who started 3rd, then lost a lot of places where it was all the way down to 8th at the end of the opening lap, and now making his way through the field. Is he already past Kutskov? No, this is Ethan Isher and Oscar Wirtz and their fight for the race lead. So we have got as many as 5 cars fielded by Yenza Motorsport. We've got Ethan Isher, we've got Shimo Zhang, Oscar Wirtz, Andrea Kostic and Max Karhan in the cars prepared by the Swiss squad. Mafia Racing fielding 2 machines driven by Kirill Kutskov and Kornelia Olkucka. Sape Motorsport, the Czech squad, entering a Czech duo of Marek Michík and Michel Jandová. There is a big fight for 3rd, and that's Kutskov. Is he going to drop it? He locked the brakes into the chicane, and it looked very nearly as though Shimo Zhang would find his way through, but he hasn't done so yet. We are very near the halfway mark of the race. Kutskov still holding on for it. Zhang making a fantastic switch back into the left-hander hairpin, and he seems to be through. So Shimo Zhang up to 3rd, there he goes. Kirill Kutskov done and dusted for the moment. Wonderful fight between the two for the remaining podium place. 6/10 between the race leader and the 2nd placed Oscar Wirtz. That's them. And in the meantime, they've actually got away from everyone else by about 10 seconds. Fantastic pace that the leading duo is currently managing. 138.4 on the previous lap by Ethan Isher, 138.1 even by Oscar Wirtz, chopping another 3/10 of that gap that he has. The fastest lap of the race so far done by Shimo Zhang on lap number 5 in 137.8, and he remains to be one of the 2 drivers that have dropped below the 138 mark so far. Through the chicane they go. Is this going to be a fight for the race lead? It very well may be. Oscar Wirtz, very close indeed. Still about half a second between the two. Oscar Wirtz had a little look down the inside, but didn't really stick with that. This is the fight for 3rd, or let's say from 3rd onwards. Shimo Zhang in 3rd, Kirill Kutskov behind, and then Andrea Kostic, Mirek Mikesh. Mikesh having a little wider exit out of the 2nd hairpin than he probably would have liked, costing him a little oomph on the power. So he may lose touch a tiny little bit there. Ooh, a big lock-up for Andrea Kostic. That's not really going to be liked by his tyres. Definitely not the front right. That was a big lock-up. Let's see what the Pirellis should say about that in the latter part of the race. We know Pirelli's in the top ranks of motorsport as being notoriously difficult to handle, and if you damage them even slightly, there's pretty much no coming back. The problem just gets bigger and bigger. But that might not be the case for the Formula 4 machine, the entry level, where there is not actually that much of a desire for the tyres to be deteriorating that quickly as they normally do in Formula 1. Ethan Isher across the line, 1:38.4. Oscar Wurz 1:38.7, so he's now lost a couple of tenths. This is the fight for fourth. Zhang already across the line, and he's already 3 seconds ahead of Kutskov. Kutskov actually having to defend quite hard, not really enjoying the same pace as the race leaders. Ooh, Kostic was trying to see if he could perform a switchback, but he was a long way to the right hand side, and that would have been too risky, which he evaluated quite quickly in no time and stayed on the right hand side, but he's still very close. Remember that lock-up from the last lap. Is there going to be another switchback? No. Kutskov choosing the defensive line into 5. Now just to stay behind, line up for a move. This is going to be a good opportunity. Use a little bit of that slipstream. Kutskov currently glued to the inside line. Kostic was waiting for his moment, which didn't come. Great defense from Kutskov. And through the hairpin we go, but this is going to be even harder to defend. That back straight being extremely long, and basically both lines somehow working into the chicane with respect to the following corners. Kutskov choosing the defensive line. Switch back from Kostic. Nice move, and he's there down the inside. He stays on the track. Very well executed, but Kutskov finds his way past back, and so does Mirek Mikeš. That's going to be very tight, exiting the final 2 corners, so no change in the order eventually. It's Kutskov still having to defend because somehow Kostic has managed to stay attack ready. Ooh, might be a touch. No, Mirek Mikeš somehow backing off of that. Is it going to be a switchback from him now? No, he wasn't really that fast on the throttle. But wonderful scrap. It was actually Kostic who managed to actually squeeze himself past Kirill Kutskov, and it already seemed as though he may have made it stick, but Kutskov simply positioned his car better on the exit of that chicane and put his car on the inside, which through where he would actually steal the place back from Kostic. Mirek Mikeš was waiting for his chance, and he actually went for it, but was then demoted back, and somehow Kostic managed to maintain that attacking position. Around the hairpin we go, onto the same back straight once again. So are we going to get a repeat? 7 minutes left on the clock, so still plenty of time to fight, and too much time to defend, I would say. This time Kostic is nowhere near as close as he was in the previous lap. Mikeš making a huge mistake, big lock-up, potentially even cutting the chicane slightly. That's going to cost him a little bit. And back onto the start and finish straight we go, with Isher still leading by just under 1 second. Still the situation in the fight for the race victory unresolved at the moment. In the meantime, Shimo Zhang has already been left in a race of his own. He's got 10 seconds to the race leaders and by about 9 seconds to the cars behind, so he's in sort of no man's land currently, running for the podium where he basically started. 6 minutes left. Still got a great fight. Further down the field we've got Max Karhan in 7th from Kororella in 8th, Marek Micik in 9th with Franciszek Halatnik in P10. Lukas Savu, he went into the pits a couple of laps back to probably have that front wing checked, but he continues currently. Kornelia Olkutská, fastest of the 3 ladies on the grid, from Michalina Sabaj and Michelle Jandová. Great fight among the 3 as well. And another attempt from Kostic. Same thing, but he's now covering the inside line way better and not really allowing Kutskov down the inside just as he did 2 laps back. This is way better for Kostic, and he might actually keep this one. Just under 5 minutes left on the clock. Kutskov was having another go, but it seems as though he simply lacks the pace of the Yenza Motorsport car. So this looks to be definitive. And let's just see what Mirek Mikeš has to say about that, because he's also keeping himself close to the fight. Only a couple of tenths back. Lap times gradually dropping. The fastest lap that we did was 1:37.8 by Shimo Zhang. He actually did 1:38.3 on the previous lap, so not so bad, but the lead is already 1:39.0 by Isha, 1:38.7 by Oscar Wirtz, and they were only 4 tenths apart from each other. There they are. This is the fight for the race victory, still not resolved. Wirtz is close. Big lock up by Wirtz. Definitely doesn't need that. And onto the start and finish straight. It seems as though the exits of the last chicane are just way better by Oscar Wirtz. Now 5 tenths apart from one another. That might be the result of that lockup for Wirtz, but staying incredibly close to the race leader and therefore to the race victory in the opening race of the 2024 season. Fantastic fight for the race victory. Still Ethan Isher, last year's champion, holding the nerves and keeping Oscar Wirtz at bay. Shimo Zhang in third, his lap time's already starting to drop as well. Andrea Kostic 1:39.2, Kirill Kutskov even 1:40.1, Mirek Mikeš 1:40.7, he lost some time behind Kutskov. Max Karhan in 7th, 1:40.5. This is another fight. This is the fight for the last spot in the top 10. Franciszek Halatnik, the Janik Motorsport driver. The Junior Orlen team, as it is officially called, defending hard from Kornelia Olkucka and Michalina Sabaj. There we go into another one. There was a fight on our hands. Mirek Mikeš on Kirill Kutskov. Is anything happening there? There was actually a beautiful scrap as well between these three. And there was a massive lockup by Kornelia Olkucka. She's staying in her position from Michalina Sabaj. As we are entering what could even be the final lap of the race. Oh no, can't be. The leaders are here, so one more lap to run. Now the drone has revealed that the race leaders are already in the second sector. Isha still leading from Wirtz, 6 tenths between them on the finish line. 2 laps from home. Shimo Zhang in third. And there we go. This is definitely a place swap, as Sabaj overtook Kornelia Olkucka. And now into the final one goes Ethan Isher. Ethan Isher starting the final lap of the race. You may have noticed a problem at the side of the track, somehow smoke pouring off the barrier. I don't know why. And that was one of the Mafia Racing cars going slowly. The time is up already, so we are on the final lap with Ethan Isher leading from Oscar Wirtz. Cornelia Olkucka seems to be in trouble, driving slowly. So Michel Jandová and Luca Savu up by one place. Both of them. Luca Savu, meanwhile, also catching up with Michel quite quickly. Let's see if he still has enough of time to make a move. But who will not make a move is probably Oscar Wirtz, as we are now exiting the final chicane. And he's starting where he left off. Ethan Isher, victorious in the opening round, in the opening race of the 2024 season of the Central European Formula 4. Oscar Wirtz coming home in second. Shimo Zhang third on the road. Gostić in fourth. Kirill Kutskov in P5 from Mirek Mikesh. It's probably Cornelia Olkucka, being lapped. That Mafia Racing car was a bit mistaken. That's not Kutskov, this is Olkucka. Either way, Mikesh P6 on the road from Max Karhan in 7th. Jonathan Cororella in 8th. Marek Micik in 9th. And we're awaiting the Orlen junior driver František Halatník and also Michalina Sabaj and Michel Jandová. There they are, and there has been a position swap, so Michalina Sabaj actually got past František Halatník on that final lap to score 10th and steal away that final spot in the top 10. Michel Jandová just about hanging on to 12th. She was nearly, well, not even 0.2 of a second ahead of Luca Savu across the line. So great job by her as well, defending that place. Luca Savu, as he ran into trouble with that broken front wing, having to play catch up, but only 13th on the road, and Cornelia Olkucka having had some issues in the final stage or closing stage of the race, finishing 14th on the road, one lap down. So that's it for the opening race of the Central European Formula 4, and we're now going to take another little break before we're back with the Suzuki Swift Cup race past 4 p.m. and then we're also about to witness the endurance race of the mixed GT classes. Until then, it is a very warm goodbye.